Because there's a lot of things that can get you hurt or injured, but what's the stuff that prevents you from going home and really lowering fatalities? So if you back it out now, it's, okay, recordability is good. It's important. It's an industry measurement. But if fatalities haven't moved, maybe we need to talk a little bit more about the real stuff that can get you seriously hurt.
Put that coffee down.
Creators are leaders. Be careful what kind of leaders you're producing here.
Helen, we're both in sales.
Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman.
They realized that to be in power, you didn't need guns or money or even numbers. You just needed the will to do what the other guy wouldn't.
I'm not leaving. The show goes on.
Well, hello there, friend. Welcome back to the Construction Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Bradley Hartman. And on this show, we bring you ideas and insights every single week from leaders across the construction industry to help you lead more effectively. This episode is brought to you by the Simple Sales Pipeline. Who made the Simple Sales Pipeline? We did. Over the last 5, 6, 7 years, we've been struggling working with our clients to help them forecast their sales more effectively, whether it's sales pros or business development managers, whether they're builders or GCs or associations or dealers or distributors. Everybody has struggled with forecasting intelligently with consistency and discipline. And we had other tools that were Excel-based or Power BI that just weren't good enough. And implementing an extremely long and expensive process for a CRM took too long. So we said, forget it. We're just going to do it ourselves. We're going to make it. We're going to make it for you. And it's here. It's called the Simple Sales Pipeline. Visit thesimplesalespipeline.com to see if it's a fit for you. Now, I'm thrilled to bring to you today my conversation with Mr. Paul Levin. He's the Vice President and Corporate Director of Health, Safety, and Environmental at Sundt Construction. Now, like me, Paul Levin is a native Chicagoan who has transplanted himself to warmer climate. In his case, it's Phoenix, Arizona. But he, along with his colleagues, Brandon Drury and Adam Mack, made the trip over to Dallas several months ago for us to get together. And we did this for two reasons. The first one was we are going to help them develop their own internal podcast. And if you listen to episode 280, Sundt Construction, the making of a private podcast, we basically took them, Adam and Brandon and Paul, through the entire process. And now they're developing that on their own. And we shared this not only in a podcast, again, episode 280, it's worth a listen, but also we did it with video. So you can go to YouTube and watch that as well. If you're thinking about making your own, this is a fantastic free resource to check that out. Meanwhile, Paul and I wanted to connect to talk about their safety program, which is called Stop the Sticky. And the Sticky stands for shit that can kill you. Now, why stop the sticky? Well, Sundt Construction and Paul thought, as I do, that the more you can use language skills that resonate with the most important people who have to behave in a way that is consistent with the program you're implementing, the better off you will be. So they put in this program called Stop the Sticky. So I wanted to get together with Paul to talk about the program, the details, on how they implemented it, what they chose to do and what they chose not to do, because right now it is making an impact with the people that matter most, the folks that are on the job doing the work. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Mr. Paul Levin, Vice President, Corporate Director of HS&E at Sundt Construction. As always, thank you for listening. Mr. Paul Levin, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Dude,
pleasure to be back.
Yes, back
Am I
on the
your
show.
first time, second time?
No, not even close. But nonetheless, glad that you're here.
Hoping.
Glad
Maybe
that
there's
you're
a
here.
chance.
Like the
Thank you
Saturday
for
Night
having me.
Live Five Timers Club. Like,
Yeah.
you get a gold jacket or something?
Yeah,
No,
nothing?
You don't. No, actually, a lot of people have been here twice.
All right. Well, I'm happy to be here.
No, I'm thrilled to talk about the story. There's so many parts of it, I think, just from my mind, of just a good story. But obviously, the core of this at the end of the day is running a better business and making sure people are safe and on the job. And there's so many good parts and pieces of this. I'm going to do my best to draw them out of you. But maybe let's just start at the beginning. maybe 4 or 5 years ago, what was it that had you thinking, yeah, on the surface, we're successful and we're seeing, our injury rate go down, and yet it's not good enough and we need to question this more? What was that kind of inciting incident there?
Couple things. Most of us, all of us, follow the recordability set by OSHA, the total recordable injury rate. We're trying to reduce that. People put labels to it. If you're below 1.0, if you're below 0.5, if you're below 0.3, it's world class. And so we had a company target of 0.5.
Okay.
And some months we go through with 3 recordables, some months we go through without any. And you wonder, okay, what is working in our program? What isn't working? And the FY18 year, we beat the 0.5. We're at 0.49. And it just didn't seem like this was a sustainable way to go about it. Every day waking up hoping you don't have a recordable. At the same time, we had implemented a new app, which we put our incidents into the app, which generated an email, which went to our executive committee.
Okay.
And it just didn't seem right that we're targeting a lower OSHA rate, but yet we're still getting 2.5 emails a day about incidents that went wrong in our company.
So guys on the front line have the app on their phone and they're doing their observations, looking what's happening. They plug the stuff in and it immediately goes to everyone, including the executive.
Yeah, I mean,
leadership.
for years it was paper and pencil. You fill out an incident report, you fax it in, it goes on a spreadsheet. So you're seeing it, but not in real time. When we went to the app and we started putting in 2.5 incidents a day and you're getting this email, level 1, level 2, level 3, injury or near miss or property damage, it's like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And where I work, out of our headquarters, Mike Hoover, our CEO, is down the hall, and I know his email's pinging the same time mine is, and we're looking at the same email. We got to be asking ourselves, what is going on? Doesn't feel right.
So you begin questioning this.
Yeah.
Where does that lead?
Well, also at the same time, OSHA was publishing stats, and they're usually a year behind, but the fatality rate in our industry has not moved in 10 years. Right. So now you throw in, we're trending down, the industry's trending down on injuries. We're still getting 2.5 emails a day, and big picture, fatalities have not moved in 10 years. Again, it didn't add up.
Yeah.
Something is off. So what does that mean? Where do you go from there? So we just started trying some things and trying to make sense out of it is really what was going through our minds.
And then on one day you received a mug.
Yeah, actually months before, it was like a New Year's I think
it was.
box.
Yeah.
I got a box from Red Angle Spanish. Have you heard of Red Angle Spanish?
Fantastic company.
Fantastic. Yes. El Presidente.
Yes. That's right.
Bradley Hartman sent me a box and it had a coffee mug in it, black matte coffee mug with lots of encouraging ideas on it. And it was from a company called Good Effing Design Advice.
Yes.
And on this mug, it's get up early, don't procrastinate, take effing feedback, all these inspirational messages.
Yes.
And it got me thinking about messaging to our workforce. What exactly are we saying in our safety meeting? What's gonna click? So I ended up calling the owners of Good Effing Design Advice and asked them how they came up with this. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's their website might be, I think it's GFDA.
GFDA.
So it is very good design advice, yet with a very aggressive F word that also is a gerund. So effing just in front of everything.
And then there's duct tape for folks the family-friendly garage version.
Yes, right.
So I called them up and they said, look, we were paraphrasing or summarizing what I thought I heard from them, that they were grad students in college teaching classes and they couldn't keep their students' attention. So they started dropping F-bombs in their lectures and they couldn't believe the amount of attention they got back from that. So it got me thinking about safety. How do we message stuff? And maybe there's new criteria on risky stuff that would sound like this stuff right here will effing kill you. Just something to get their attention. And so I was sitting on that. So I had all these thoughts, the messaging. We were learning that rules don't keep you safe. Everyone thinks about the McDonald's, this coffee's hot sticker, and so how much warning can we do for people? And then you saw the numbers come in at Sundt where it just wasn't adding up. It wasn't adding up. So that's really kind of summarizing where we were in October of 19. So what are you going to do about it? So we decided just to add our own criteria to our incidents outside of injuries, which is everything. So first of all, we tracked what's our overall incident rate, which is anything that happened, any unplanned event. And we were like 14. So When you say 14, what does that mean? We said exactly. 14 out of 100 people are involved in an incident. So even though recordability is 0.5, incident rate is 14.
Okay.
That's far from zero. So the other mantra is zero. Goal is zero. And so fatality should be at zero. But when you trend overall construction work, and we were at 14, and we're supposed to be doing, above average safety, we're trying to do great safety, and we're at 14, then we were like, okay, now we're definitely onto something. Like we're living in this false world of zero when zero is not reality. These 2.5 emails a day is 14 people per 100 evolved in an unplanned event.
And that's evidence that you are getting, and just...
That was our number. That was just running our numbers going, okay, 2.5 equates to this. I think specifically 684 incidents, 582, 542 the last 3 years.
Okay.
Per year. So that's still equating to 2 incidents a day for us. Okay, so what? So you have all these incidents, and then so we put the grading criteria of sticky to it. So we took out the F-bomb. And actually, I want to bring up Matt Comfort from Quanta, an industry peer of ours, good friend of myself and Sundt's, that I pitched this concept to him at an industry meeting. He thought it was great, thought we should lose the F-bomb, which we did.
Probably good.
And
good choice, Matt.
He created sticky STKY at Quanta.
Okay.
And we put kept the C in, which is stuff that can kill you. Okay. So his is STKY, and so we were off and running with this concept. Like I had a partner, someone that was validating these crazy thoughts. So then we went the route of looking at numbers. Matt Comfort took the route of the energy wheel, which we can get to in a bit, about high energy hazards. So we still needed to validate. So we have a lot of incidents. The rates are higher. What does that mean though on severity? So we broke it down into non-sticky, small cuts, roll of the ankle, muscle tweak, those type of things. You back into something.
I just want to make sure we don't bury the lead either. Sticky stands for shit that can kill you.
Yes.
And why, in addition to light swearing, which I do enjoy from time to time with our Chicago roots, that finds its way into our vocabulary.
Yeah.
The other part is, this is what people say on the job. Like, hey man, you got to watch that. That shit can kill you.
Right.
And I think oftentimes we underestimate or we underthink the words that we choose, and the words we choose can be really powerful. And if these are not words or phrases that we actually use on the job, they're not going to be used on the job,
As I reflect back and think about the BS factor to everything in life, that the curse words somehow separate the BS from the real important stuff for some reason.
I know what you mean.
It's like counterintuitive. Yes. So adding curse words makes it more important or serious for some reason when you start thinking about it. So saying this stuff right here is the shit that can kill you. It's like, okay, everything is dangerous on a construction job, but this right here can get you really hurt today.
Yep.
And that's what our focus was, to move that to what can really hurt you today. Because there's a lot of things that can get you hurt or injured, but what's the stuff that prevents you from going home? And really lowering fatalities. So if you back it out now, it's, okay, recordability is good. It's important. It's an industry measurement. But if fatalities haven't moved, maybe we need to talk a little bit more about the real stuff that can get you seriously hurt.
Yeah.
So we just put in a categorization of sticky and non-sticky.
Okay.
And non-sticky being roll of the ankle, small cuts,
These
muscle
are all
strains,
incidents that happen
all
out there.
What property
property
damage, all that stuff. So we included more than just injuries now. Now we said near misses. Now we said property damage. Now we said utility strikes. Those are all unplanned events that have an exchange of energy in a sense. And we found, going back, the first year we went back and kind of went through our injury accident reports, but we're finishing our 3rd year next month of live, and we're still at 11% sticky.
Okay.
So 11% of our incidents could have killed someone, and we're about 80% pure luck it didn't.
Okay.
So just to wrap that up on the sticky, non-sticky, could have killed someone, yes or no, and we're about 10, 11% on sticky. Then from there, we created 3 categories for sticky, which be sticky success, which means it's like a near miss. Controls were in place. Someone could have been hurt, but they weren't because we protected the person.
Okay.
Sticky luck means all controls were not in place.
All right.
Which means we were lucky someone against it. And then sticky injury would be a SIF, which would mean, for us, not going to work in construction again or a fatality.
Yep. So fair to say you look at all the incidents that are happening, round numbers, 9 out of 10 of them are non-sticky. 9 out of 10 are shit that can't kill you.
Smash your thumb.
Yeah, not going to kill you, right?
Yeah.
So then of that, roughly 10% or so, you have 3 different versions. One is sticky success, which is no significant injury or death because why? Controls were in place. The second one I think is fascinating, which is 78 to 80% of this 11%, is luck. From a leadership standpoint, when you talk to your team about the role luck plays, what does that sound like? Because, and the reason I'm interested in, I think too often we know luck is a thing. We know it's out there. We talk about it in our personal lives, yet on the job, we act like luck doesn't really exist or we downplay it. What does that sound like when you and your leaders talk about this element that we know is certainly in place, and it's luck? And if you look at 8 out of 10 of all our sticky shit that can kill you incidents, luck is playing a huge role in that.
We don't really talk much about the word. We just say it really quickly and move on. It's like, with sticky luck means we screwed up. Like,
Okay.
you know,
All
we didn't do what we were supposed to do. And
Okay.
we're usually feeling frustrated, angry, pissed off, and we want to move to the solution.
Yeah.
But it has been, you know, we just haven't been really hung up or either way, good or bad. It's just what we call it.
Okay.
And who knows if that'll change on the road, but sticky luck kind of fit that we were lucky it wasn't worse.
Yeah.
And then we try to move to, well, what happened?
Okay.
You know, that type of thing.
Can I ask you about the internal marketing? Because I've always been impressed with your stuff. It's always really well designed. It's clear. We got some movie posters going on here. You know, there's just so many elements in here. How did you begin to roll this out in a way that resonated? Because the phrase used before is, how do we get the messaging to get their attention at the moment of choice? Which is, at the end of the day, almost your entire job, right? Like that is what we ultimately need to do. And that is one of the hardest things to do in our business.
Well, I tell you, for most of us, many of us, we start out doing our own marketing for years, creating simple PowerPoint things that are, you look back and it's probably painful sometimes to look and see. We tried to present this to marketing and they had no idea what we were talking about. So the head of marketing said, why don't you write a white paper that explains this to the novice person? And I was extremely frustrated because it's very hard when you're on this enthusiastic train to sit back and have to write a white paper on it.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be one of the best things we did is we wrote it up as a white paper and it kind of proved this emotion of thought. And then we were able to explain it to the executive committee. And then really it turned out to be a good thing. We have a graphic designer in marketing now that's come on in the last couple of years that, you know, you think you're doing a decent job, but then you get a graphic designer in there and they do some really cool stuff. So really, we owe all the credit in the world to marketing being patient with us and putting this together, capturing what we're trying to show.
Yeah.
And also it's really cool once you start getting that partnering going, it's like, wow, what else can we do with this? But yeah, writing the white paper was tough. It's hard to sit down and defend and validate your emotional thoughts, but I think in the long run, we've shared it a lot and it's helped out a lot.
If I can descend down into a little bit of nerdery on that white paper, how long was this thing? Because I think that step is often not taken. And what you have is a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm. In some cases, it went from Paul and then there's this whole team. And if you're an outsider, what I heard was 5,000 words of people really excited about something I do not understand. And forcing folks to distill that down into paper. On one hand, it might seem a little bit bureaucratic, but it forces people to distill all this energy and what they're thinking about their goals. And that further refines the idea. So how long was the white paper?
It was 3 or 4 pages.
Okay. Right.
It was just, you know, you write down your ideas, you outline your ideas, you write it up and you see where you're at. It was probably 3 or 4 pages, nothing fancy.
Got it.
Nothing. Maybe it was up to 6. I threw in some definitions of recordability just to show where we were coming from.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get started. But when you do it, what's interesting, you show it to business development and proposal writers and you're going after work and they don't understand. They're just trying to create stuff that an owner might want to see or we can show and justify our safety program. So again, you go back and once you get it done, you rely on it a lot. And I would say, yes, you're right. Looking back, I've never written a white paper on something we were doing with safety and probably should have many times just to get it out there so everyone could look at it the same way objectively and give you better feedback.
Yeah. Well, I just find consistently writing for public consumption, I'll go in with an idea and I'm like, this is the thread that will combine all of this stuff. And then you start writing it down. You're like, there are some giant holes in this thinking.
Yeah.
And until you take that step, you're not aware of it. And I'll often say is, I got to write this down to think about what I think and to see if this is actually accurate or this is just some half-baked idea that I've thought about.
The people that aren't familiar with safety and the injuries and
Yes.
all that emotion and effort would say, what's the issue here? Like, what are you really saying? And so we were able to frame our issue that has, using the OSHA recordability rate and the experience modification rate, camouflaged the real issues that fatalities have not come down.
Yeah.
Because we focused on certain parts of it. And we didn't look at the bigger picture, which is all incidents, and then, seeing where we're at. So that's what our issue was, has using those two data points to define success.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not as complete as they should be if we're going to reduce fatalities.
And that's why this idea of what we measure and how we measure it and why is it important, and we're being really intentional and thoughtful with those. Sometimes we get rolling and it's not till years down the line you realize, if we're being honest with ourselves, this probably isn't the best thing to measure, and it's hard to kind of course correct, but I applaud your efforts to do that.
Well, I'll tell you what we got out of that is when you run the numbers, if an average company of 2,000 employees like Sundt did average safety, we would have a fatality every 5 years.
Wow. Okay. That puts it in
So
perspective.
when you solve for X, for Sundt, 2,000 employee company, it was every 4.89 years. We did have a fatality a little bit over 8 years ago. So you think, okay, well, we're over that 5 years, the numbers show this. And I think that really gets a lot of people's attention. So we got the issue, it has using those two data points, and then solve for X. When you solve it for your own company, that's really eye-opening.
Yeah.
So it flips the recordability saying, okay, we're at this for recordability, we're doing okay, to it doesn't matter if you're doing okay, tomorrow's a new day.
Yep.
Those risks don't stop tomorrow.
Right.
And so that's really kept us fired up about this, of what's at stake.
Well, I like the structure you had where you broke things down by, so stop the sticky, stop the shit that can kill you. You got beliefs, you got actions, you got results. I'm going to jump into actions here because ultimately the behaviors that we see on the job site, are we seeing those changed? Can you tell me about one of these elements here, which is push versus pull communications?
Yeah, that's a fairly new one on the safety part of the business, not on the quality, not on pull planning, not on scheduling our work. So for a while now, there's been a big push about lean.
Yep.
And 6-week look aheads, pull planning sessions where you do, define a feature of work and you break it down. And so I was referred a book, The Lean Builder, was referred to me by one of my coworkers about quality and lean and those type of things. And so I read the book, and I'd been through that process before, lean. And the biggest takeaway wasn't on the quality side. It was push-pull again, pull planning meetings. And I thought, I'm not sure we've done a good enough job pulling that process into safety.
Yeah.
And maybe there's something there, instead of us pushing safety, instead of the foreman or superintendent standing up and reading off what that person feels are the hazards, maybe we need to turn this around, 80-20, where maybe the foreman is the facilitator, 20% scheduling the meeting, what the work is, but 80% comes from our crew members. Yeah. Now, we know that's a challenge. There's a lot of quiet, introverted. They don't want to speak in public. And we've all been there, not wanting to speak up. But that's what got me thinking that maybe we need to switch from pushing safety to pulling safety in our planning sessions. Maybe that's another factor into why fatalities have not come down. So this is a very new concept for us here at Sundt. And that's really challenged us to say, okay, how are we going to know if that's happening at all? Yeah. And so we are now tape recording our safety meetings. So we have a new app we're using where every morning our leader opens up the app, identifies what's sticky today, presses record, and they have a safety meeting.
And this is it's a Sundt specific app?
Sundt specific. Our self-performers are doing it. Yeah. The name of the app is called Risk Talk.
Okay.
Risk Talk's out of Australia. And we've partnered with them. We're using the app. And so far, we've done about 5,000 safety meetings where the audio is captured up in the cloud.
When you say, is AI involved to kind of identify?
Not yet.
Okay.
But what we're starting to do is we did a year of making sure this works. We have 5,000 meetings. And now we're adding some auditing criteria till we have 10 things we're going to start listening for.
Okay.
And then start giving feedback to our leaders. One of them is push versus pull. One of them is, are you engaging with everyone? Are you asking question out? We got a long way to go. I mean, this has been a forever thing of one person runs the meeting. And now we're trying to, flip it upside down and say, okay, we're going to be stripping this wall today. What's sticky to you? What, instead of one person. And when you think back about it, one person was doing the safety meeting. One person was sharing what they thought was hazardous. And we all know, we all see hazards differently. And then the risk associated with those differently. So brand new concept. Like, so we did risk talk for a year. We've doubled down on it now. And now we're adding the auditing process to it.
Okay.
And then we'll see where we're at. So that's what push versus pull is. And we think there's something there.
Yeah. Well, so the Lean Builder, fantastic book. I would strongly recommend it to anybody who's remotely interested or passionate about construction, by Joe Donnarumma and Key and Zandy, they're both local Dallas guys. Great guys. And they're doing more workshops now. So if you have not heard of them, it's an easy read. I thought it was like straight out of the Patrick Lencioni style.
That. It's a fable, but it's a real story / fable of building a job. So it's a great
and perfect for construction.
Good
There's
read.
pictures in there. I love the pictures.
Yes.
So that's awesome. I want to ask you maybe about one of the things that I think we know, but so many people struggle with, especially on busy job sites, is a clean and an organized job site. Not only does that increase the overall productivity, but it also decreases the chance of injuries happening. I love the fact you put relentless in here. So one of the actions that you focus on is own relentless housekeeping. Talk about that. What takes it from regular housekeeping, which might not be done, to relentless?
We're still trying to figure that out. Relentless housekeeping was even before Sticky.
Okay.
Was presenting the strategic and tactical plan to the executives. And they said, okay, give us one thing we can do to help. And, I'm in that pause. They're asking for help. What do you want to, what are you going to come back with? And this throughout housekeeping. Because when you walk on a job, it's like walking into someone's house. You walk in, you get a feeling. If it's super clean, you take your shoes off. Like, you're very respectful of what you don't touch or don't do.
Yeah.
However, you walk into someone's house and it's more laid back. You're like, hey, I walk right on through. I mean, there's some vibe you get from walking into someone's house is a good example, or even jumping in their car and that type of thing. So it's just like a job site. Employees know when they walk on a job site what they're going to get. Yeah. Is it spotless? Is it clean? Is there an attitude with it? Then you kind of walk taller and you put your trash away. You just behave differently. And so the executives said, okay. And we felt like the executives, they don't need to know all the rules. They don't need to know all what controls, but they can walk out on a job site and say, this doesn't look that clean to me.
Right.
So we went with relentless housekeeping. And I tell you, every year during Safety Week, National Safety Week, we call it Sticky Week now, but every year we get to go out with executives and I get to spend time with Mike Hoover. And every year he'll say, when we're done, we'll walk 10, 11, 12, 13 jobs over a week. And he'll say, okay, grade those jobs for me on housekeeping. Yeah. Effort is C, right? You never want to go below C. You say, yeah, that was good. And he'll say, was that a B or was that an A? Like, how would you grade it?
Yeah.
And what we feel is that some people are just wired for housekeeping. Some people are wired for relentless housekeeping. And when we walk jobs, and he's disappointed in what he sees, I've let him know they knew you were coming and that's what they gave you.
Right.
So we know that some people just aren't inherently wired for real. I'm more of an organization person than I am a spotless person. I mean, just the way I'm wired. I like to be organized, but I wouldn't say I'm spotless 100% of the time. So Mike would like to Google map our superintendent's homes where they live and see how they live at home. And that's his thing. Like, we'd love to see how they live outside the job. Maybe that gives us
that's your leading measure behavior. What does your house look like? What does your garage look like?
We're just looking, ultimately, we're just trying to be better. And how do you be better with housekeeping? But we developed some real things of what defines relentless house. I mean, it isn't just fair to say you got to be relentless. It's like, what does that look like?
Because there's constraints on certain jobs where you don't have the space or you...
Right. So we developed criteria around, what are we looking for? It's clean trucks and vehicles. It's, clear pathways. It's respect work in progress. So if you're stripping or doing stuff, is it roped off? I mean, there's certain things that you can't have. But also we developed what we've learned from relentless housekeeping. And I would say first off that it's easy when it's easy. Certain parts of the job are just easier to keep clean, start of the job, depending on the work that's going on. When we're in the work, it's easy to default to unrelentless housekeeping.
It is.
When we're in the work. And probably the biggest thing we've learned is relentless housekeeping has to be planned into every task.
Okay.
And we weren't doing that before too. So we're trying to get better with it. And we consider and joke about Google Earth and looking at, but really if we can do those three things, especially the last one, whether it's crane time or whether it's built into the task, we weren't consciously doing that before. Yeah. And we're trying to get better with that.
Cool. So you've written the white paper, you kind of clarified your vision, you got some details in there, and yet you're still getting the 2.5 emails a day. Walk me through what the discussions were like with your fellow C-suite executives, and how'd you get leadership involved to be part of the conversation as opposed to still being maybe on the outside or still trying to understand what the details were about sticky?
So we finished fiscal year 19. We're at a 0.49 OSHA rate.
Right.
I sit down with Mike Hoover, our CEO, and said, hey, we're lower than that, first time ever. But I said, I don't want to live in this world anymore. And he's at, what world is that? And the world of recordability, that these things weren't adding up. He's like, so what do we do? And so I handed him a book by Todd Conklin called Pre-Accident Investigation. Okay. And came back a month or two later, read the book. Okay, what's next? And at the time we had a safety executive leadership team, which was group presidents and group safety leaders. We'd meet every month and we decided we'd have them read the book. And through that, the introduction to human performance initiatives, we came together and we looked at these numbers that we scrubbed now, which was 14 people per 100 were involved in an incident, 2.5 emails a day. We started running the sticky factor of 10% of our incidents were sticky. And our executives had to come to the conclusion that being at zero every day was not something that we could show.
Right.
Now, we all agree zero fatalities for sure. But the premise of zero incidents, when our data is showing 2.5 a day, really caused pause from everyone.
Yeah, it's a huge
and
delta.
It was like, well, where do we need to go? Yeah. And so we created 6 beliefs from that. So that built from the discussion after a fiscal year to let's read the book on human performance principles to let's look at our own numbers. And I'd say we had 39 iterations. I throw out 39. We had a lot of iterations on what our beliefs really are, how do we define them, and then how do we start sharing them with the company. So we came up with 6. We had learning, look at all these incidents, lots of opportunity to learn and be better from. Mistakes, we're realizing that people don't purposely try to get themselves injured at work, that most of the time it's a genuine mistake in the moment. Sure. They made a choice that put themselves at risk. Deviations, it's really hard to write a THA at 6 a.m. and think it's going to last you through an 8 or 10 hour day with what we do. Yep. But we believe it does. We go to these incident reviews and it's like, did you write a THA? Well, yeah, we wrote it. Okay, then what did it say? Then it really, conversation can fall apart about that. Yep. So we deviate because things happen on our jobs. Context is probably I don't say my favorite, but the one I enjoy discussing. It's because in that moment, that choice made sense to that person. Yeah. So you got to understand what they were thinking, the pressures they were under, what was on their mind. Response, I would say, this is Mike Hoover's favorite, blame fixes nothing. So
say that again.
Blame fixes nothing.
Blame fixes
nothing.
Correct.
So many of us have grown up where we blame the employee, blame this, blame that. And so we've got to realize that even though we might be upset, and I encourage our teams, we're not saying become robotic and not get upset and pissed off about something happening. Get upset, but then let's move through it to, okay, let's understand context. Let's understand, do we deviate? Let's understand what really happened here, because ultimately just blaming people doesn't help or help us get better. And then last, we want to continue the show me sticky because we've shown that the data proves that 10% of our incidents are sticky. So that needs to be our focus. Okay. And so the question then from the executives back to us as a safety department was, you going to go train people on this? And we said, well, we don't really think this is something you train on. we have 2.5 incidents a day, we need to start introducing our beliefs to our review meetings because every incident has a level of review.
Yep.
So we decided to go that route and really walk the talk instead of just putting on a training session and say, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Doing it with the incident review has been helpful, but we still got a long way to go, but plenty of opportunity because, we're down to 2 incidents a day now.
Okay.
2 chances every day
Yep.
to show our belief. So I just think that's very important to get those folks. And many times in many companies, the people that are in those positions, when they were running work, they might not have had to do safety meetings every day.
Right.
They might not have had to do THAs. They were maybe doing 1 meeting a week. So this mindset is a shift and they need reps. And then from the reps, you start building trust. And so what I'll tell you is, we're finishing our 3rd full year of this. We started writing this in 20, that the only thing we modified in our beliefs is we switched to sequence. Show me sticky used to be first and learning was bottom right. We just switched the sequence of those and everything else on here, we're still sticking to it. We just need to keep working it.
Yep. All right, Paul. Hey, I'm watching the time. Appreciate you making time to come here. I think
24/7 for you, Bradley. 24/7.
That's what I like about you.
I'll be back for the third
I need
time.
to hear more people saying that
What
about
is
their
the number?
availability
3?
to me.
3 timers club be on the. I need one. When can I come back? Let's do a part 2. Does part 2 count?
Yeah. We'd be remiss to say, all right, we got here, so we got all this data. We got these human performance behaviors. At the end of the day, though, and I think maybe to wrap us up here is, now what? What's next? What do you see as the next couple steps, or fast forward 12 months? What are the behaviors? What are the steps that you'd like to see to continue this trajectory you guys are on with your sticky shit that can kill you program?
Yeah, great question. We're still trying to answer that ourselves. We're staring at the numbers. Still 10, 11% of our incidents are sticky, which I guess we were optimistic we'd see that number come down. But one thing we did do was put a target around sticky successes. So again, sticky success is an incident happened where all controls were in place,
right,
versus sticky luck where all controls were not in place.
Yep.
And Mike Hoover, our CEO, put a target on there at 25% of our incidents. And when you scan our data back, we're at success 5%, 7%, 12% the last 3 years. And we're at 22% this year. The target is 25% of our incidents had controls in place.
Okay.
So a lot of our jobs still don't really understand how does that equate to a success. This is what training and going out in our Sticky Academy is about. But right now we're trending at 22% sticky success. So ultimately we want to raise our successes and lower our luck because we know we're still having 2 incidents a day. So we got first to come to grips with we're having 2 a day at Sundt.
Yeah.
Okay. If we're going to have them, let's make sure they're not sticky. And then if they are sticky, let's make sure controls are in place with success. So that's the first thing. We're measuring a bunch of stuff. We're measuring our total incidents, which that rate has gone down from almost 14 to 8. We're tracking at 8. We're measuring our sticky incidents, which includes success. And then moving into next fiscal year, we're building our own Sticky Walks app, which will go out and focus on the stuff that can kill you in our sticky wheel, which follows the model of the energy wheel.
Okay.
And so from there, we have 8 areas in our sticky wheel. We developed an app that covers those 8 areas. And even though rule-based compliance is part of it, we've really identified 3 or 4 things per exposure that if we do these 3 or 4 things, nobody dies on a Sundt job and they go home safe. So we're going to track sticky walks. And then within those walks, what percentage of controls were in place. And so we're really excited to see that's going to start this October 1. And then, of course, we're going to continue to measure recordable injury rate that goes out in every proposal. Sure. Everyone in the industry is using that. So we're still going to use recordability rate, but we're trying to add some things that balance that out a little bit and are a little bit more leading.
That's awesome. Well, I know where part of where I want to go for round 3, whenever that is digging into your ability to develop your own app, internal. Obviously, you're using some external apps, but building it for your guys and then having people use it. Number one, I don't think many people are investing enough time to create their own apps, but then this change process of having people actually use it and have this full life cycle where we're gathering the data, we're analyzing it, we're filtering it right back out to change behaviors. I think you guys, of all the folks, obviously anecdotally, that we're talking to or clients of ours, you're one of the best who's doing it. So I think there's a lot more to go in there. So maybe that's for round 3, but I appreciate you making time, and I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. So many levels. Shit that can kill you, fun to say. And that's actually what people say. And the fact that you want it to be sticky, like that's also a phrase we use. Absolutely. I think it's great. So appreciate your time. Thank you.
I appreciate being here. I want to give a shout out to Matt Comfort from Quanta, which helped us develop our sticky mantra, Risk Talk, the app we're using to capture our safety meetings.
Yep.
And, we're far from where we want to be. We're just trying to find ways to get that improvement and ultimately drive that fatality rate down. So we're open to any ideas and suggestions as well.
Yep.
And also, we love to benchmark with anyone and everyone about how do we get better with safety. So again, appreciate being here, and I look forward to being back soon.
You got it. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
All right then, friends, how did that go? Hopefully you enjoyed my conversation with Paul Levin, and you should absolutely visit their website. Just Google Sundt, S-U-N-D-T Construction, to check out more of the details that they are sharing on safety by choice. Stop the sticky. Stop the shit that can kill you. I love it. And relevant to this, you can also see how they are being innovative and how we help them develop their own private podcast. You can listen to episode 280, Sundt Construction, the making of a private podcast. And you can also find our video of that at youtube.com. I know what you're thinking. Should I go to YouTube, Bradley Hartman & Co., and subscribe? Yeah, you should. Every week, we are recording these episodes, putting out new content to make it easier for you to share these insights from the best leaders in the industry. So yes, you should absolutely do that. How much does it cost? Nothing. It's free. The giving never ends around here at the Construction Leadership Podcast. And if you did enjoy my conversation with Paul Levin, please rate and review this podcast. That means more to us than you know. This episode was brought to you by the Simple Sales Pipeline. If you believe we are heading into some uncertain recessionary economic times, do yourself a favor. Put it on paper, organize, and quantify the value of your pipeline. And the fastest way to do that is through a tool that we built for you. We made it for you. It's called the Simple Sales Pipeline. Where, pray tell, can you find it? thesimpleSalesPipeline.com. All right, friends, that's all I've got. I'm out of here. You are owed nothing. Deliver value first. Make it a great day.